Gonna try something new and record from my phone. Please excuse this channel going through an identity crisis. We're gonna be a cooking channel for today. Hope that's okay. So recently my mom and I guess to a lesser extent my dad stopped by to drop off some plums from their garden. Don't be deceived guys, it's not just this basket that I have. There is another whole bucket and drawer full of plums in my fridge that I really need to get rid of. Because as much as I would like to keep the plums in my fridge, I do have a healthy amount of fear of mold. So for today, I thought let's just start with probably one of the simplest things we could make together, and that's going to be a plum syrup. All right, to get us started, we're just going to go ahead and cut and pit some of our plums. I found that this bowl I have fits roughly 2 pounds of plums, so we're just going to do that again. Plum paring knife. Just going to go down. Jesus Christ. Not one word about how dull my knives are, guys. I know I need to get them sharpened, but I'm too lazy. See, one half. It kind of looks like a little avocado. Unless this looks gross to you guys, I'm sorry. Plums are so fake like that. Like, why are you yellow on the inside? You're supposed to be purple. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. I kind of don't like plums in comparison to like other fruits, but my mom has this very fond memory of me as a child sneaking into our kitchen to steal from the dried plum jar. According to her, I was really obsessed with them. Like, I would go crazy for them. And ever since then, my mom has essentially made it my personality trait. So, according to her, I really like plums. So when I say we're making syrup, I'm not saying the kind of syrup that goes on like, I don't know, ice cream or pancakes per se. I'm sure you could use this syrup like that, but when I make syrups, it's with the intent to mix it into drinks. Could be cocktails or into like a tea, or you can make your own fruit soda with Sprite, club soda, or whatever. Stuff like that. Okay. Plums have been cut and pitted. You can see roughly 2 pounds maybe. No offense to peaches and all. They're great. I love them. They taste amazing. But their pits give me a weird sense of trypophobia. It's making me uncomfortable. Okay, I think the syrups are relatively cooled by now. It's been like an hour actually, so they better be cooled by now. With that, I think we can go ahead and just strain out all the pulp and transfer the liquid and juices into our container of choice. I'm just reusing an old sauce bottle of mine. It doesn't have to be anything fancy unless you want it to be. Honestly, if any of your fruit is like my peaches right now, they're still have relatively maintained their shape and solidness, you can honestly save that and eat it for a little snack. If you add a little bit of cinnamon to the peaches, it would make a good pie filling. I'm gonna put this out there. I know that it's best practice to sterilize your jars prior to like canning or preserving any of the foods you make. But considering I go through these like within days, I'm not too concerned of it like going bad or, you know, botulism coming for me. So, all right, that's the peach down. I was able to fill up like 1 3/4 of a bottle. Not as pink as you would think, but it is a very nice orange color. Alright, so today is Tuesday of our week of plum cooking. Today I was thinking of making some egg rolls and thought that it would be nice to pair it with an Asian plum sauce as sort of like a dipping. I'm gonna be honest, I've never tried plum sauce, so in hindsight, I don't know if this is actually good or not. So I tried looking for a recipe last night for this, and I found that a lot of them are very similar to one another. So I'm just gonna wing it tonight, and we're gonna hope for the best. So before we get started on cutting all of our ingredients, I'm gonna go ahead and prepare our spice mix. We're just gonna need cinnamon, 2 star anise, half teaspoon of cloves, half teaspoon of fennel. Technically, I would need to add whole Szechuan peppercorns. I don't have whole peppercorns, but I do have the powdered version of it. So I'm just gonna omit that for the time being and add it a little later. But for now, we're just gonna take our spices and lightly toast them over a small pan. And once they're cooled, we're gonna go ahead and transfer them in a small cheesecloth bag for later use. Just out of convenience, so you don't have to go fishing for the seeds later on. Also, if you don't have any of these ingredients or just don't want to make your own, this is basically Chinese 5-spice. And you can get that in almost any grocery store, I believe, so it shouldn't be that hard to find, hopefully. Similar to yesterday, we're just gonna go ahead and cut and pit roughly like maybe 2 pounds worth of plums. Alright, so here's our plums again. Adding on to this, we're gonna go ahead and cut up half a red onion and maybe 2 to 3 pears. I know in some recipes they included either a sweet potato or apple along with the plums. I don't really know why they include those two. My theory is that helps balance out either the flavor or texture of the overall sauce. I think given that the sweet potato and apple are a little bit more starchy, more firm, it's going to help balance out the softness of the plums and absorb a lot of that moisture that's going to be released in the boiling process. But what do I know? I'm not a food scientist. But it doesn't really matter because I don't have either of those two, and I'm just going to substitute it with pear and hope for the best. Again, we are very much winging this recipe, so take my word with a grain of salt. I cut up like 3 smallish pears. I think that should be good. I don't really want to overwhelm the plums. Alright, got our large pot here. In goes the plums, our pears and red onion, half cup of brown sugar, half cup of apple cider vinegar, and a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Sugar for sweetness, and then soy sauce for general flavoring. Vinegar is not really there for flavoring, it's more for preservation because of the acidity, helps deter gross things from forming in your container. Roughly a tablespoon of minced ginger, about like 2 inches worth of diced ginger, and then a little salt for good luck. I probably under-seasoned that, but oh well. Just gonna give this a quick mix. If it's looking a little solid to you, I wouldn't be too concerned. Once we get this on the heat, I'm sure that a lot of the solids will soften up and release a lot of their moisture. Onto medium-high heat for maybe like 45 minutes. Two things I hate about cooking. 1, waiting for water to boil, and 2, waiting for things to cool down. Because why did this take 2 hours? As I anticipated, a lot of the solids have broken down. It is now at a very kind of like thick, jammy consistency. So what we're gonna do now is move this onto a blender and just smooth it all out. If you're doing this at home, I cannot stress enough the importance of letting your food cool before you add them to a blender, because if you don't, it will explode. Do not clean out your pot quite yet. We will have to reheat this after it is blended, just so we can get our spices in there. Give it a taste. It's definitely got a tang to it, and I'm guessing that's probably because of all of the vinegar we put in. It doesn't taste bad, but I think I'm going to add maybe a little bit more sugar for when we pour it back into the pot. No, it's on the floor. No. Where's my honey? Honey? Because I did say it wasn't really as sweet as I would like, I'm just gonna go ahead and add a little bit more honey for this round. Just kind of eyeballing it. And then as it's cooking, we'll periodically check the taste and see if we need to add more honey or anything to it. All that's left, add in our spices. Just kind of like plop it in there. And our peppercorn that's ground up because I forgot. What? Oh! I could have sworn I already used this. Just putting in like a teaspoon. Okay, actually just half a teaspoon would be sufficient. That's a lot of powder I put in. Oh no. Anyways, back on the heat. This goes for another 20 to 30 minutes. Also, our sauce is looking a little more opaque than I thought. But if you did want it a little bit more translucent, I would say dilute it with maybe like a cup or so of water. That's also if you want a little bit more runny of a sauce. Mine's running kind of thick, but I don't really mind. I think right now the consistency it has is honestly perfect for what I want. So I don't think we need to reduce it that much. But if yours is somehow more watery than mine, obviously just keep it on the heat longer or just until your desired consistency. That's pretty good, guys. I went into this with zero expectations, but honestly, it turned out surprisingly well. Again, I don't know what plum sauce is actually supposed to taste like, but this is good. It's still got that like tang to it, but it's not as intense or astringent. It's actually like nice balance. There's like a hint of sweetness with it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just good, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and just ladle everything I have in my little jars. It's still not quite fully cooled, but I think it's cooled enough to go and transfer it to the jars. But other than that, all that's left is to make the actual egg rolls. So I will go and do that for tonight. Evan, come try the plum sauce. Dip your finger in it and try it. It's supposed to be like a tangy, sweet, sour kind of sauce. Oh, no? No good? I had a feeling you would make this face.
It's like a combination between marinara and just plums.
Marinara?
I don't know why. Don't ask me.
I think it's the consistency.
No, and taste too.
There's no tomatoes in it.
I know, but I don't know. It just tastes like marinara for some reason.
What do you mean?
I
It
don't
tastes like
know.
marinara. Watch it taste bad with the egg roll. It's okay if you hate it.
It just tastes like marinara to me. I don't know what to do. Maybe it's because I'm dehydrated. Maybe it's because I'm dehydrated.
I don't know how dehydration would make you taste marinara.
I don't know.
I'm also dehydrated.
I don't know, man.
I haven't drunk water all day.
I don't know.
The egg rolls are good.
Egg rolls are always good.
Alright, marinara boy, I'm coming over. Just tastes like marinara.
I don't know, it just does taste like... I don't ask me why.
Okay. Contrary to what I'm wearing, it is still pretty warm where I'm from. So to take advantage of what little of summer we have left, I think today, let's try to make a cold, sweet treat for ourselves. Bumped my head off the fridge door. Alright, you know the drill. 2 pounds of plums. Huh. So for today, we're making a plum sorbet, which you'll find it's very similar to how we made the plum syrup on Monday. Because when it comes down to it, it really only needs at most like 3 ingredients. It does require a relatively long wait time, so if you are an impatient person like me, this may not be the recipe for you, which is okay. I will enjoy it on your behalf, and you can eat it vicariously through me. Ideally, I would have taken the time to actually like skin the plums, but what are you gonna do? Got our plums. I'm honestly getting so much faster at cutting them. It's kind of insane. Back our trusty friend, the blender. For our recipe today, we're just gonna go ahead and blend up our desired choice of fruit and make it essentially into like a puree / fruit concentrate. Might be a bit too much. Cover your ears. I'm gonna go ahead and strain it through a sieve over a bowl. Okay, looks like it's gonna need a little bit of help. In hindsight, it probably would have been better to just boil the fruit and peel it, but oh well. Cooking is always a learning process, so today's mistake is tomorrow's XP, or something like that. I didn't realize how much the skins would hinder our progress. Give me 1 second. Well, this surely is an interesting method I've come up with. Oh my god! So I broke my sieve, but it's okay. Desperately trying to put it through the sieve, but oh well. So you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, what's the difference between sorbet and just regular old ice cream? Well, I'm glad you asked. If we were to arrange all of the frozen sweet treats along a spectrum, you're gonna find gelato on one end and sorbet on the other. So for our recipe today, we're making sorbet, which is essentially just fruit concentrate plus sugar. Traditionally, it would also be churned after the initial freeze, just so that it could achieve a more creamy and smooth texture. But for our limited budget and lack of appliance thereof, we're just gonna skip the churning process and just freeze it. Technically, you don't need the fruit concentrate. You can make sorbet with just water and sugar, but why would you do that? Next up in line is sherbet / sherbet, however you wish to pronounce it. Relatively similar to sorbet in that it's fruit concentrate plus sugar. All it really does is add a little bit of dairy into the mix. And with our friends ice cream and gelato, fruit concentrate is less emphasized. In fact, you could just completely skip over any fruit flavoring in them. Really, the main differences between gelato and ice cream are their proportions between milk and cream. I believe gelato is the one that has a higher ratio of milk to the cream. And I think ice cream also has the inclusion of eggs where gelato doesn't. Other than that, gelato is churned at a much slower rate than ice cream, just because that helps achieve a more smoother and thicker texture. With ice cream, on the other hand, you kind of want it to churn faster, so a lot more air is whipped in, so it becomes a more lighter, kind of fluffier texture. So, the more you know. I think we got as much of the fruit concentrate as we could with that. This was actually a lot more work than I anticipated. So for you guys at home, I would highly suggest you take your fruit, put it in a saucepan over medium-high heat, and let that sit until your fruit softens significantly. And at that point, after it's cooled, then maybe transfer it to a blender just to smooth it all out, and then strain it. And hopefully that would help, not make the skin so finicky to strain. I would say some fruits, in regards to sorbet making, would be better off being cooked first, just so it helps release more of its flavors. I think plums would technically be one of them. Right now, the texture is more... This looks like barbecue sauce. If you wanted a more darker purplish red color for your plum sorbet, that's only gonna happen if you cook it beforehand. But if you're like me and blended it first, then you're just gonna have to stick with this color. This is, wow, that really does look like barbecue sauce. Okay. Do not be deceived by the lighting. It still looks pretty good. Or so I tell myself. So for our sorbet, it's going to be important that we have a good sugar ratio. Roughly like 20 to 30% of it should be sugar, or in easier terms, for every 4 cups of fruit puree, 1 cup of sugar, roughly. And again, the amount of sugar is going to depend solely on how ripe your fruit is and how sweet it is. Oh, that's pretty good. That's fruit juice, baby. To really bring out the flavors of our plum, we're gonna add a little bit of lemon juice. And like any other recipe, a little bit of salt. I wouldn't be too concerned about over salting your sorbet because cold foods dampen flavor. So if it's salty to you now, probably won't be as salty when it's frozen. This step is completely optional. I'm gonna add a little bit of alcohol to this. For our purposes, like a tablespoon or 2 of vodka would probably be better because of its higher alcohol proof. But because I know orange pairs well with plums, I want to try using an orange liqueur. Ideally, I would use Grand Marnier, but I don't have that. I put in 1.5 tablespoons. Probably would have been smarter to gradually add it in, but it is what it is. It's gonna taste. I don't know if it really did anything, but I'm not gonna add any more because I'm afraid. Once you think your sugar has sufficiently dissolved and incorporated itself into your mix, then we can go on to the final step, which is transferring it into a container. My housemates laughed at me for keeping our ice cream pints, but who's laughing now? Just a little over 2 pints. There's some left in the bowl, but I don't want to overfill these containers because God knows what will happen. Alright. Here is our sorbet, our chocolate pretzel gelato sorbet. These are going into the freezer, ideally overnight, but if I'm impatient enough, maybe 6 hours. We kind of moved a little quickly through that, so I'm just going to take a moment to briefly explain what all that was. Number 1, sugar ratio is important because sugar lowers the freezing point of water. What does that mean? Sugar then helps prevent our sorbet from freezing solid. In more sciencey terms, water freezes in a very specific crystalline pattern. I think it's like a hexagonal shape. When water is just hanging out as it is easy for the molecules to go and arrange themselves in that particular way. When you add sugar into the mix, the water molecules are going to have a little bit of a harder time navigating around them to make that specific pattern. And because it has to expend a little more of that energy, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to freeze fully, or it's going to just need a colder temp to freeze. And by the end of it, you're going to get these pockets of frozen crystals alongside the sugar that wasn't able to freeze, which are just essentially going to be a more concentrated syrup. And that's how you're going to get your frozen texture while also still maintaining some level of softness to it. The lemon juice and salt were mainly there for flavor enhancement. Similar to the sugar, alcohol was added as like an extra insurance that it doesn't freeze completely. Again, I probably should have used vodka in hindsight because alcohol with higher proofs don't freeze in conventional freezers. So it could have just remained slushy. So yeah, very simple, super easy recipe today. Hopefully it turns out well. I'm like 99% confident it won't suck. So that's good to know. Hopefully it turns out well. Sorry, it turned out more like a science lesson than anything, but at the end of the day, knowledge is also good eats. Welcome back, guys. It is Thursday. Quite frankly, I am running out of ideas for the plums. Surprisingly enough. I find it funny because I intended to make the recipes harder as the week went on, but it seems I'm doing quite the opposite of that, which is fine because this is a win-win for both of us. Anyways, for today, we're gonna go and make oven roasted plums. 1, because it's easy. 2, I'm running out of ideas. And 3, I just want an excuse to eat ice cream for lunch. And because it's such an easy recipe, I'm just gonna wing it. and hope for the best. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, preheat our oven to 350. So you could do this in many ways. You can arrange your plums in a baking tray with like parchment over it, or in like a glass baking dish. Choose whatever you want as long as it's oven safe. Today, I think I'm just gonna put them in these little ramekins because I don't think I can eat a whole baking tray worth of plums right now. I only have 2 of them, so I'm not really achieving my goal of getting through a lot of plums, but at this point it should be fine. Same old, same old. We're just gonna half our plums. Yeah, this could literally only fit like 2 plums. Oops, I forgot something. I don't know if this step is necessary per se, but I'm just gonna go ahead and lightly butter the inside of the ramekins. So here's how we're gonna wing it. Ideally, if you are using a larger tray slash dish, this would be a whole lot easier, but considering I'm doing a ramekin, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult, but this is the boat I'm living in. I think we're just gonna go ahead and drizzle a little honey on it. That was not a little, but it's okay. If you don't want to use honey, you can also just use plain sugar. That's fine. Gonna sprinkle some cinnamon on. This is probably all overkill, but oh well. Ice cream will fix it. Ice cream fixes everything. I'm probably gonna do like a 4th teaspoon of vanilla and then a little bit of salt for good luck. That's all I'm putting in mine. Again, if you're using a bigger baking dish, it probably would be easier to incorporate more spices and flavorings. You could probably add cloves or like cardamom, but this is what we're going for, so hopefully it turns out okay. Got our 2 prepped ramekins. I'm gonna go ahead and put them on a baking tray, and then I'm just gonna transfer them into the oven. So here's part 2 of where we're winging it, because I don't exactly know how long they need to be in there. Ideally enough that they're softened but not limp. We don't want it too tender, okay? We still want them to maintain some of their plum structure. So 8 minutes actually turned out to be like 15, but that's okay because I think I figured out when it would be good to take them out. Right now you can see it bubble and like some of the syrup start to pool at the bottom, so I think that is perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. So we're just gonna let that cool a bit because I want to hold my little ramekin with my raccoon hands. I want you guys to see how it turned out. I'll show you guys one more time. Whoa, a little too close. Here's what they look like. Now that I actually got a spoon in there, it does feel very soft, kind of on the mushier side. Somewhere in between 10 to 15 minutes I think would be okay. Not the most appetizing of spoonfuls, but it smells good. I think it could use just a little bit more of everything, because right now I'm smelling everything, but I'm only tasting the tartness of the plums. I know what can fix this. I am a firm believer of vanilla bean ice cream supremacy. Don't come at me with French vanilla. Oh yeah, that looks so good. Oh yeah. That's so good. The plum syrup with the vanilla bean ice cream, it reminds me of my childhood. It tastes exactly like the ice cream they used to give us in elementary school. You know, the one with like the little wooden stick that goes with it? It's exactly like that right now. Okay, so maybe it doesn't need to be sweetened. As long as you have like a sweet ice cream to go with it. Oh my god, it's so good. Yeah, feel free to experiment with this however you guys like. Sometimes the simplest things are the greatest things. Okay, I'm gonna go enjoy these now. See you guys tomorrow. Unrelated to the plums, I think I have food poisoning. I went to bed last night not feeling the greatest in my stomach, and clearly it did not get any better in the morning. But today's the last day of plums, so we're just gonna power through it. I know yesterday I was saying like I was running out of ideas, and I know there's like a million other ways I could probably use the plums. Very easy ways, to be honest, like making a cake or a jam cookie or like a plum cobbler of sorts, but I'm just one little guy. I can't eat a whole cake, so that's why I haven't been making them. As much as I want to get rid of the plums, that would quite literally be the opposite of the goal of this video. I don't want to waste food, so I have to kind of like come up with small scale ideas. But anyways, I figured out what we're gonna do for our last day, and that's gonna be making a panna cotta. Panna cotta is basically like heavy cream and sugar, and then you just put gelatin in it. It's kind of like a gelatinous milk. I know I'm not making it sound good, but trust me, it is good when you make it right. Backstory time. I used to work at a place where they made panna cotta like as like a seasonal dessert, and that was the first time I tried it. And not to say that it was bad, but after I tasted it, I told myself I could definitely make that better. Cue like a couple months of like experimenting with different recipes, and here we are. So unlike a lot of the recipes this week, I'm not going into this completely blind, which is good. The one caveat I have for this is that we're gonna have to make a couple of substitutions for things. So when I've made this in the past, I've actually used like whole vanilla bean pods to like steep in the heavy cream. I don't have them at the moment, so we're just gonna have to make do with vanilla extract. I know they're not the same, but I really don't want to spend another $20 for vanilla beans. I know I said it also needs to use gelatin, but I'm going to be substituting that with agar-agar powder for today. It's kind of like a vegan alternative, minus having to use like dairy for the dessert, but it does make it halal. Okay, that's all I have to say. Let's get cooking. I almost forgot. Where do the plums come into play? Don't worry guys, I am not feeding you just a gelatinous milky cube, okay? You can put fresh berries over it. In the past, I've done diced strawberries with slices of lemon. I just put sugar over it. I don't cook it at all. I just let the enzymes do their thing, just so I can maintain the fruit structures, but still get some of that juice and put it on top. It's so good. It's so good. Try it with the strawberries. Unfortunately for us, I did end up having to freeze the last of our plums. I'm not sure if they're gonna hold up once they thaw for cutting and leaving whole and just doing the sugar on top thing. I think we might have to cook these, but that's okay. We'll just make sure to not cook them for that long. Whoa, that's crazy. This is a quart? I know I grew up here, but sometimes I really don't understand our measuring system. I'm trying to do this all by memory, so I think we'll be okay. Or maybe that could just be the food poisoning talking. Ugh. I know for certain we need 1 quart of heavy whipping cream. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour that in a little saucepan. And then half a cup of white sugar. Okay, we're gonna move this onto the stovetop. So we want that on like medium-high heat. We're not trying to get the heavy cream to boil. We want it at a simmer, and that's going to be very important. So if you're actually using vanilla bean pods, the order of operations is a little bit different. If you're using vanilla bean pods, you're going to simmer the heavy cream, take that off the heat, put in vanilla bean pods, let that steep for 15 minutes off the heat, and then you're going to put it back on the heat to simmer, then add in your gelatin / agar-agar powder. For us today, because we don't have vanilla bean pods, that steeping process isn't going to be as important. So I think after this initial simmer, we can just go ahead and put in our vanilla extract and the agar-agar powder right away. Because it is dairy, I would highly recommend watching over the heavy cream as it's on the heat, because you don't want the bottom to get weird and funky. You know what I mean? I know I'm like teaching y'all like 2 different pathways at the same time. My apologies. We're gonna blame the food poisoning. I'm sure I'm fine. I'm so strong. I'm being so brave about it. I think I'll just put the recipe in the link. So, you know, if this gets confusing, just reference that, okay? If I was just a little bit more insane, I would be tempted to like dig through the vanilla bean ice cream for the little flecks of vanilla and put that in our panna cotta. But I'm smart enough to know that's going to be a fruitless endeavor, so we're not going to do that. Though I am curious, what would happen if I just melt the vanilla bean ice cream and put the gelatin powder in? Would that work? Focus, Alyssa, focus. Don't tempt me, guys. I'll do it. I'm gonna climb the table, sorry. Oh, my knees. Never underestimate the pride of a very short person. This is what we're transferring our panna cotta in. I think I got this from my parents. I think they just reused like Costco pudding cups. I think the original recipe called for 2 1/4 teaspoon of gelatin, but with agar-agar we'll need less powder. I think last time I used like 1/4 of a teaspoon, so not a lot. We don't need a lot. All right, I got my 1/2 teaspoon. Once this finally reaches a simmer, we'll do 1/2 teaspoon. We're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon vanilla extract, 1/4 teaspoon agar-agar powder. It's starting to simmer, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in agar-agar powder and vanilla extract. I'm gonna take this off the heat as well. Man, I hope this works out. Otherwise, what a horrible way to end this video. We want the powder to soak in the liquid and do its thing, so we kind of need it to be in there for like 5 minutes or so. I'm kind of tempted to add more vanilla extract, but I think that's the devil talking. All right, now that it has had time to like hang out a bit, I'm gonna move that liquid into a measuring cup. This is just for ease of pouring the liquid into the individual serving cups. If you want to just do it straight from the pot, go ahead. You are braver than me. I would say fill your cups like 3/4 of the way. You don't want it all the way to the top because you do need some space for your toppings. I'm gonna go ahead and set these aside for a bit. Once they've sufficiently cooled, we're gonna go and put plastic wrap over them and then transfer them into the fridge to set. In the meantime, we can enjoy a little snack. I like how at the beginning I was like, I'm gonna be impatient. I'm gonna go and eat the sorbet right away. Well, it's been 2 days. Again, this is what it looks like. This is the one where we blended it. Earlier in the week, I did actually make a batch where I did cook the plums first before blending, and this is the color. Here's the color difference. So this is if you blend it, this is if you cook the plums first. The only reason why I did the blending on Wednesday was because I thought it would be easier than cooking the plums. You know, it saves you from cleaning a dish or two and waiting through the boiling process, but apparently it was a lot more work than anticipated, so. Yeah, you can definitely smell the plums more distinctly in this one. I know I said sugar ratio is important and the alcohol will help not make it freeze completely, but let's see. It sounds solid, but once you get a spoon in it, you can kind of get a good scoop out of it. So it's not like a popsicle or anything. Let's give the blended version one a taste. Darker version. Yeah, boiling beats it out significantly. I think you guys should just boil it, don't blend it. This one has a more well-rounded flavor. It's not too sour, it's not too sweet. I think it's just the true essence of plum. This one has a little zest. It has a little tartness to it. She's a little different. It's mainly on preferences what you like, but I still think boiling your plums would end up a little bit better. I'm gonna go get my little handy assistant to taste test as well. Be right back. Yeah. You gotta tell me which one you like, the darker one or the lighter one. You're just chomping on it without the spoon.
It's too hard for the spoon to actually make a dent.
Don't say that. The sorbet's supposed to be soft. I did a whole science spiel on it. Does it taste like marinara?
No. That one has more of a robust taste than the lighter one.
Yeah, it does.
I want to eat the whole thing.
If you want to, you don't have to. Oh, okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for trying. He didn't even use the spoon I gave him. 90% of the time, he was just biting it with his teeth like a horse. How are you doing, Plums? I don't know how much fruit syrup we're actually gonna need for our panna cotta. I'm guessing not that much. So I'm just gonna try to fill it like halfway through this small saucepan. Last time we'll be doing this together. So this is quite an interesting discovery. If you freeze your plums, it's a lot easier to just peel them. This would have been so helpful when I was making that sorbet. Oh my god. Would this have been easier with fresh plums? Yes. Did I want mold in my fridge? No. So we gotta make compromises in life sometimes, you know? Oh, my fingers are cold. On the plus side, if I slip and cut my fingers, they'll be too numb to feel anything, so I don't want to push my luck too much. I got like maybe 3/4 of the way full with this saucepan. I'm gonna go add 1 cup of sugar and then 1/2 cup of water. I don't want it too runny, but I also don't want it too thick when I put it over the panna cotta. And then over medium-high heat, this shall go. While that's happening, we're gonna go ahead and plastic wrap our little jars. I wish these cups came with reusable lids, but alas. I should have warned you guys that this recipe also requires a long wait time because these need to go in the fridge for like 6 hours to set. Alright, since we've already done this like 2 to 3 times, I'm not going to show you guys again. I will see you guys in a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I have been sweating booty cheeks over this panna cotta. I know I said we were gonna wait like 6 hours, but that actually ended up turning into like 8 or 9. I kept checking in on it periodically and it made me super nervous because it was still pretty jiggly and liquidy. I'm willing to admit that I'm a clown if the recipe ends up failing me, but I'm not clown enough to go and make a second batch behind your backs, guys. So we're gonna see if this worked or not together. I grabbed one that was like further back in the fridge because it's colder. So hopefully it had better luck setting. I don't know. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I was gonna like tilt it and show you how it's looking. It's definitely still like, oh yeah, she moving. She's still liquid. I want to feel it though. But you know, flan can be slippery. I think. If I just like tap my spoon into it, is it gonna like give? Oh! Oh wait, hold on. Okay, this is very promising. Promising in the sense that like, what's that word? It's kind of like water tension. You know how water doesn't break if you like kind of like poke it a little bit? I think to some degree it did set, just not enough to be like fully like jello-like. So then that just means we probably just needed a little bit more agar-agar powder, which makes sense because some of it was lost because I probably didn't hydrate it prior to putting it in the hot liquid. So that's on me. But I think the real test is if we put the syrup on it and it sits. So let's go see that. We're back at it with our syrup that looks kind of like barbecue sauce, but it's okay. And I got a syrup. Ooh, hold on. Yeah. Heck yeah. Ah, I got it on my finger. It touched me. I do see some of the... Here, let me go wash my finger real quick first. I do see like a thin layer of the heavy cream kind of like rise into the syrup. For the most part, the syrup isn't like bleeding down into it. Well, it kind of slowly is, I think. I think it's slowly pressing down into the heavy cream. Okay, I'm gonna stick my spoon in it. We're gonna taste it and we're gonna see how it goes. I am very afraid it's gonna taste very watery. Okay. Ooh, that's a little too much syrup for my thing. It's I can't really show you guys. It's not really jiggly. It is liquidy. I don't know how to feel about it. The whole appeal of panna cotta is that it's like semi-solid. This one is just... Remember when we made the oven roasted plums? It's like that, part 2. It's good in the sense that it tastes exactly like the swirled ice cream cups I got as a kid. It's bad because it's an ice cream cup that's melted. Which brings me back to the question. If I did just put agar-agar powder in our melted ice cream, would it have fared better than this? I'm not mad at the syrup, to be honest though. It is like the right amount of sweetness for me, so I'm not mad. Like I was gonna be very bummed if it was like liquidy, plus it was like tart, but no, this is sweet. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I wonder what I could do to save this. I don't know if I can. I'm trying to figure out a way if I can, like, you know, salvage this. I could just eat it, just like a little kind of like dessert soup. That's also a thing. I could probably just pour it into like a popsicle like mold and it could just be like a creamsicle, maybe? I know I'm saying a lot of things, but to recap. 1, I'm a clown. 2, it still tastes good, right? Everything's fine. Execution wise, like 10 out of 10 for flavor. Surprisingly, the vanilla extract works just as well as the vanilla bean, so that's good. It still gets the flavor across without being overpowering, so that's good. Unfortunately for us, execution was like a 2 out of 10. I don't think there's gonna be any hope of it setting overnight, but you know, maybe if it does, if a miracle happens, I will let you guys know. Oh shoot, I had to take a picture for this. My bad. I know I've been like taking, you know, the little glamour shots of all the foods throughout the week, and you know, they turned out fine. This kind of turned out disappointingly, especially for our last meal, but it is what it is. Here's a picture of what it's supposed to look like when I did succeed. In the past, I've done too much gelatin in mine and it was like gross solid brick. I can't tell which one I prefer. You win some, you lose some. But at least it was tasty. I would be disappointed if it completely failed and it like sucked. Well, that was disappointing. This will be my dessert of shame for the next week or so. Anyways, this video has gone on long enough, so I'm gonna wrap things up. First of all, if you managed to sit through all of this, first off, thank you. I hope it was at least somewhat entertaining and a little educational. At the end of the day, I accomplished my goal of using up like most of the plums. So go us. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.